Our movie starts with a student named Tom. He meets his friend Dan, who gives him the phone he got for him, and then they head to school together. At school, we notice that Tom has a crush on his classmate Lucy. He is so infatuated with her that he daydreams about her during class and can't answer the teacher's question. After class, Dan tells him that everyone knows he has a crush on Lucy, so he needs to confess his feelings to her or do something to impress her. At that moment, Lucy approaches Tom and asks him to help her with science homework. He agrees to come over in the evening to help her out. That night, Tom goes to Lucy's house and finds the door open. He enters and sees her brother Ben on the floor, and a gang that beat him up and raped his sister Lucy was still in the apartment filming a video. They run after Tom as he runs away while trying to call the police, so they shoot him before he can call out for help, and the phone gets shattered right off his ears. At that moment, his phone, which is on his ear, explodes. Tom falls into a coma for 10 days. When he wakes up, the doctor explains that parts of the phone have entered his brain. Before he leaves the hospital, the doctor asks him to contact him if he feels anything unusual. Back home, Tom wants to visit Lucy but feels ashamed for running away when he saw the gang. His grandmother reassures him, telling him Lucy will forgive him. He buys flowers and notices he can clearly hear a woman talking on the phone and the person she's speaking to, but he doesn't pay much attention. He visits Lucy and apologizes for running away from the gang instead of confronting them. Lucy accepts his apology. When Tom leaves Lucy's house, he feels overwhelmed by the devices around him and becomes very sick. As soon as his grandmother sees him, she says she'll call the doctor because he looks unwell, but he tells her he will just sleep and be fine. When he enters his room, he finds out that he can sense vibrations, lights, and rays coming out of the devices around him. Looking out the window, he sees these things covering the entire city and he faints. He dreams of the moment when Lucy's house was invaded and imagines that his classmate Eugene was present at that time. Tom wakes up in the morning and goes to school because he has an exam. Even though he's on leave, he starts to focus on the powers he now possesses, understanding what each phone is open to and what its owner is doing. He decides to check Eugene's phone, which was playing a video of the invasion of Lucy's apartment. Tom was amazed with his newfound abilities. That night, he goes to a party with Dan, recalling the details in the video he saw on Eugene's phone, which made him realize that Hess and Cass were with Eugene during the invasion. At the party, Eugene confronts Tom because he feels he's avoiding him and not talking to him. Before Eugene can hit him, Dan intervenes and takes Tom away from the party because he's afraid of what Eugene might do. When Tom tells Dan about Eugene and what he did to Lucy's house, Dan convinces him that Eugene wasn't behind the invasion. Tom can now see everything on the phones in front of him and can send messages without typing on the phone. He starts to threaten Eugene and his friends, letting them know that he's watching them and knows that he's behind everything that happened to Lucy. He also sends messages to Lucy pretending to be an unknown person initiating a conversation with her. Tom's abilities develop further and he can now hack into anyone's phone. At school, he plays a video on the projector he recorded through the selfie while hacking his phone of Cass watching porn on his phone, embarrassing him in front of everyone, and no one can stop the video because Tom controls the devices. Afterwards, he goes to Lucy and tells her what happened in detail to help her get out of the depression she's been in since the incident. Lucy decides to text the unknown number to see if he was behind what happened. Tom responds and asks her about the reason for the gang's attack on their house. She tells him that they wanted her brother to join them, but he refused, so they sought revenge. When Lucy asks for his name, Tom tells her to call him I-Boy. The next day, Tom goes out with Lucy, who tells him that her mother is always watching her. Tom reassures her that he will always be there for her and won't abandon her. Afterwards, they meet Eugene and his friends, who tell Lucy that they are not responsible for what happened and they wanted to attack Tom. So he quickly sends them a message from the unknown number. telling them that he sees them and they need to stop what's happening. So they leave in a hurry. Later that, Eugene and his friends go to steal a car, but as soon as they get in, the car locks and doesn't open. Smoke comes out of the air vent and a person speaks to them through the car plate asking who their leader is. They're forced to tell him that it's Cuts who forced them to do all this. Then they get out of the car before it explodes in seconds. Tom continues to search for Cuts until he finds him and gets his address. At Cuts' apartment, Tom shows on the screen a video of someone stealing his car. Cuts and his associates quickly come down to see what's happening. At that moment, Tom goes to the apartment and destroys it, blowing up the devices in it and enjoying himself. While smashing the place, he discovers that Cuts has made the speakers a hiding place for his drugs. So Tom takes them and leaves. When he gets back to his apartment, he's shocked to find it destroyed and the stuff had been stolen. Tom decides to plant the drugs in the homes of the gang members and report them to the police, getting revenge on them in a clever way. Eugene is arrested. Cuts is shocked to find that his bank account has been emptied. He calls Elman and learns that the entire gang is now in jail. Elman warns him that if this issue isn't resolved, he will hold him responsible. At this point, Tom hears the call and tries to reach Elman, but he can't. Then Cuts gathers the rest of the gang members who weren't arrested and suspects Cass of being behind everything that happened since he's the only one of his friends who wasn't arrested. The next day, Tom goes to school and when he returns, he finds his grandmother talking to the police, telling them that 4 boys invaded the house and demanded all the devices in the house. Then Tom goes to the roof and checks all the cell phones in the city. He overhears a conversation between Cuts and Elman, agreeing that there's a new drug package to be picked up at night. At night, Tom's grandmother tries to stop him from going out because she's afraid for him and feels he's doing something wrong, but he goes out against her will. So his grandmother talks to Danny about Tom and asks him to keep an eye on him. Danny agrees and keeps an eye on him. At this point, Tom tracks Cuts' phone and follows him until he throws his phone in the trash on the street. But Tom controls the surveillance cameras and tracks Cuts' car until he reaches a delivery location. Tom searches for a street fight move so he can take down one of the gang members standing in front of him. Then he reaches the package and burns it. But it was a trap from Elman, and the rest of the gang arrive and beats Tom. But he manages to play a loud sound that distracts him and allows him to escape until he gets dizzy and faints. He wakes up the next day and discovers that he missed the exam he promised Lucy he would attend with her. When he goes to school, he finds Lucy angry with him, so he apologizes to her. Suddenly, they find Cass hanging in front of them, and Tom feels guilty for what happened. He goes to his doctor and asks him to remove the phone parts from his brain, but the doctor tells him that these parts are deep in his brain and there is nothing he can do. So he goes home and sleeps, then wakes up to strange sounds in the house. When he goes out, he sees members of the gang Cuts and Elman in front of him. Elman asks him to work with him after realizing his ability, but Tom denies having this ability and refuses to work with him. Elman informs him that he paid a lot of money to get his men out of jail and that Tom must pay him back this money. At this point, Tom knew that Lucy is kidnapped, so he made Lucy's phone call the police. They actually arrive at Lucy's location, but the gang hides until the police leave. Then Eugene drops his gun and Lucy picks it up, threatening that she would shoot every single one of them. She mentions that she is disappointed at them. They have grown up together and they decided to rape her brutally. Then Elman and the gang arrive with Tom, and Eugene and the others grab Lucy and took out the gun to her head. Tom gets furious with them and detonates the phone in their pockets, making them all run for their lives. Elman appears and hits Tom, causing him to faint. Then Lucy grabs a gun and shoots Elman in the arm with it. The police arrive shortly after. The next day, Tom wakes up in the hospital with his grandmother beside him. He leaves with Lucy after she recovers from the situation she was in, and they confess their love for each other. And that's it. If you like this recap, hit like, share, and subscribe to our channel to keep seeing content like this one. If you have any requests or thoughts, drop them below in the comment section, and we will see you at the next one. Peace out!